The animation begins in a town called Groovingham, where everyone is eagerly anticipating the arrival of a famous wizard named Gran and his wife Mary. As they arrive, the townspeople warmly greet them. On their way to the royal palace, Gran demonstrates his magic by making a donkey happy. This amazes the townsfolk, who eagerly ask for some of his magic. Gran happily shares his magic, but it unexpectedly causes trouble. His happy magic makes things overly happy, leading to Gran getting into trouble with the royal army. Fortunately, Mary steps in to rescue Gran, and they escape together. Long story short, Gran and Mary hid in a cave for a while. Gran was upset because she just wanted to make people happy. Their discussion was interrupted when Gran accidentally kicked a rock and found a dragon egg. They decided to keep the dragon. Soon after, Mary planned to search for food while leaving Gran with the baby dragon. Sadly, Mary was caught by royal troops and sent to another dimension, away from their town Groovingham, to Londra in 1970. Sadly, Mary couldn't return, leaving Gran the baby dragon named Dingo waiting for her. Gran felt very sad, thinking Mary had abandoned them. However, it turns out the whole story was a bedtime tale told by a grandma to her grandson Terry. In reality, Terry and his grandma were having fun at a playground called Groovyland. But now, Terry faces challenges managing the playground, which was his grandma's legacy. He struggles to keep it open due to rent problems, putting Groovyland at risk of closure. At that time, Terry could only sitting in his grandma's old carriage, but then he found a strange hook hidden in a drawer. He decided to try it out and turned it in a hole on the carriage. Suddenly, the old carriage transformed into a new train and took Terry to Groovingham, his grandma's hometown. When Terry arrived, he couldn't believe his eyes. Everything looked just like the stories his grandma used to tell him. Determined to go back home, Terry searched for a flying train, even though he wasn't sure how to find one. Meanwhile, Gran escaped from prison with his friends, the Grampies. They wanted to get revenge on the king, but he wasn't around. Soon after, Gran found out about the coronation of the king's daughter and decided to target her instead. With his giant Dingo and the Grampies, Gran set off to carry out his plan. At the same time, everyone was eagerly awaiting the Princess Dawn's coronation as the new queen of Groovingham. But she wasn't thrilled about becoming queen cause she just wanted to be with her dream prince. While the ladies of the court were getting the princess ready, Gran, who changed his name into Gram, showed up and caused chaos in the city. Gram was angry at the king for being selfish and cast dark magic on everyone. Meanwhile, Terry had been trying to return to his world 3 times without success, always ending up in the same place. On the other hand, the princess was taken into hiding to protect her from Gram's spells. But soon the whole kingdom was engulfed in Gram's dark magic. Meanwhile, Terry encountered a little pig who led him towards Groovingham Kingdom. At first, he hesitated, but eventually he followed the pig and entered the kingdom. As Terry journeyed, he noticed something was off in the town. Everyone seemed sad and gloomy, but he had to keep following the little pig, who had the flying carriage hook. Surprisingly, the pig was Princess Dawn's pet, and it led Terry to her house where they met. Despite the sudden meeting, Princess Dawn explained everything that was happening in her city, and they decided to leave immediately. Meanwhile, Gram and his troops were searching for Princess Dawn. At that time, they were about to head to her residence when their plans were halted because Dingo got stuck at the castle door. On the other hand, Terry and Dawn met with the royal chancellor, wanting to go to a place called Oracle. Unfortunately, their plans were interrupted because Gram had cast a spell on Princess Dawn's servants, including the chancellor, making them unwilling to help her. There, Terry aided Dawn in trying to return to her world, but then they encountered Gran, who had turned into Gram. Long story short, Terry and Dawn decided to find a map to Oracle. However, it was tough because the castle had many mysterious doors, and Dawn wasn't sure which one to open. While searching, they were chased by the Grampies, who even shot arrows at them. Despite the danger, they eventually found the map room, where a guard greeted them, who was actually a living map. Shortly after, they asked the guard for the Oracle map, but he refused without clear reason. But then, they encountered Gram and his troops, adding to their troubles. Terry, Dawn, the little pig named Ben, and a robot bird managed to escape the Grampies and flee the castle. The robot bird GPS asked their next destination, and Dawn mentioned Oracle. Luckily, GPS knew the way and they headed straight there. Oracle turned out to be a peculiar place, resembling a stone hall. Terry was amazed, but even more so when the stones moved by themselves, forming a one-eyed monster. This monster was Oracle, a psychic who could see the future. Soon after, they asked Oracle how to undo Gram's magic. Oracle told them they needed to go to Orchid Cave and find a crystal key to lift the magic. But Graham overheard this and planned to destroy the key to stop them. At that time, Terry, Dawn, and Beep had to flee quickly. Sadly, Graham captured Dawn, so Terry couldn't leave her behind. He managed to save her in the end. Shortly after, they decided to camp for the night to rest. Before sleeping, Dawn asked Terry to tell her a fairy tale. Terry did, but he doubted happy endings, feeling reality was harsher. Dawn, however, believed in finding happiness in every ending. The next day, they reached a place that full of balloons. They were there to fix the balloon that powered Terry's grandma's flying train. Despite a warm welcome, they wasted time at the cafe, delaying their search for the crystal key. Terry was restless, and Dawn started to feel tipsy. Meanwhile, Graham and his troops caused chaos, chasing them to the balloon city. However, the balloonists didn't just stand by, they fought back. Soon after, Terry joined them, and together they defeated Graham and his troops. They quickly repaired the flying chariot, but Graham wasn't done yet. In a final attack, he shot Terry, Beep, Dawn, and GPS with his gloom magic. Sadly, Dawn was hit by the magic and became gloomy. Terry was worried and asked GPS to find a doctor for her. GPS pointed them to the nearest doctor, but they had to pass through a dangerous Christmas tree forest. Despite the danger, Terry and the others rushed there to get help for Dawn. Long story short, they reached a snowy plain bombarded with snow. Their journey hit a snag when guards caught them, including Terry, his friends, and Graham and his troops. They were to become Christmas tree decorations forever. Even Beep faced a grim fate, threatened to be roasted by the guards. But Terry cleverly saved Beep, and they broke free. They pretended to be adventurers anticipating Christmas and set out to rescue Dawn. Finally, they reached the doctor's place. The doctor examined Dawn uniquely and diagnosed her condition, offering Terry advice. However, Terry hesitated about the suggested solution, opting for a kiss instead. In a moment of doubt, Terry accidentally cast a spell, Chop Chop, which miraculously cured Dawn. They talked afterward, but Terry didn't realize the spell's significance in breaking Graham's magic. But then, their friendship hit a rough patch as Terry's disbelief in happy endings clashed with Dawn's optimism. Angry, she asked Terry and his friends to leave her alone. Then, while Terry, Beep, and GPS were on their way to Orchid Cave, they faced a setback. When they arrived, the cave's residents kicked Terry out because he wasn't a wizard. Only wizards were allowed in, but as Terry was leaving, he bumped into Graham, who cast a sleeping spell on him. Graham later learned that only wizards could enter Orchid Cave. Feeling proud because he was the last wizard in the world, Graham made plans to enter the cave. Meanwhile, Beep escaped from Graham and rushed to find Dawn. He told her about Terry's trouble with Graham and everything else that had happened. Dawn was moved by Beep's stories and wanted to help Terry. When Terry and Dawn reunited, Dawn gave Terry a kiss to break the spell cast by Graham. Thankfully, it worked and Terry returned to normal. Just then, Graham showed up, having been thrown out of the Orchid Cave by accident. He was shocked to see Terry and Dawn free from his magic and surprised to find the crystal key missing from the cave. To his dismay, Terry had secretly taken the key. Angered, Graham tried to capture them, and unfortunately, he succeeded. Soon after, Terry and Dawn found themselves locked up in the royal prison, feeling hopeless. The residents, still under Graham's spell, yelled in frustration at Dawn. Despite their dire situation, Terry attempted to open the prison door, but failed. Dawn wondered how Terry managed to get hold of the crystal key. Long story short, Terry revealed to Dawn that he must be a wizard because only wizards could enter the Orchid Cave. This realization made them both happy. Terry attempted to use magic to unlock the prison door, but failed. Luckily, Beep came to their rescue and freed them. Meanwhile, Graham tampered with the crystal key, rendering it powerless. Terry and Dawn tried to stop him, but they were too late. They ended up in a fight against Graham and his soldiers. After a tough battle, they defeated Graham. However, they realized they had different goals and decided to part ways. Dawn, having grown from her experiences, let Terry go. As Terry prepared to leave, the people still affected by Graham's magic appeared, threatening Dawn's safety. Terry worried about her, but a miracle occurred with the crystal key, restoring everything to normal and bringing a happy ending. However, Graham wasn't pleased with this. In the end, Terry's flying train was ready to take him back home. Surprisingly, Graham jumped on the train too, and they both returned to Terry's world. They arrived at Groovyland, where Terry was surprised by Graham's sadness as he remembered his wife, Mary. Together, they rebuilt Groovyland with the help of the Grampies and the residents of Groovingham. In the end, Terry brings joy to everyone at Groovyland and discovers that Graham is actually his grandfather. The animation ends. The moral lesson from this animation is when life throws you a dragon egg, don't scramble. Embrace the chaos, roll with it, and who knows, you might just hatch a new family member.